Or tails? Who's going?
Let him go first. Let him go first. Let him go first.
Okay, I'll go first. Opening statement. Where'd my opening statement go? No.
I'll tell you when to start, okay?
Yep.
Start.
All right. Legal immigration, when it's skill-based and controlled, usually is a net positive. Illegal immigration is different. The people crossing illegally are, on average, less educated, less skilled, and more likely to use public services than they pay in taxes. Harvard economist George Borjas was shown for years that low-skilled immigration, especially illegal, depresses wages for native-born workers without high school diplomas. That's about 10% of our American workforce. And a 2017 National Academies of Science report found that first-generation immigrants cost state and local governments about $78,000 more per person in services than they pay in taxes. Their kids do better, but the fiscal hit on the states like Texas, California, and New York is real and immediate. Welfare usage is higher too. Illegal immigrants' households use food stamps, Medicaid, and housing assistance at significantly higher rates than native households, according to the Census Bureau data. And that's before you count the cost of emergency rooms, schools, and law enforcement. Crime's another piece. Studies vary, but the fact that ICE removes tens of thousands of criminals, aliens, from the interior of the United States is not zero. It means that it's not zero. Even if the overall crime rate of illegal immigrants isn't sky high, the crimes that do happen are ones that would not have occurred without the illegal entry. Bottom line is net positive only works if you blur the legal with illegal, ignore state and local budgets, and pretend that low skilled labor has no wage effects on Americans at the bottom. That's it.
All right.
I would argue that it is that financially, there's no real evidence that this is the case. I think the Cato Institute had a breakdown in which they showed that even the overall at the federal level, the illegal immigrants have created reduced the deficit in America by like $1.7 trillion, right? And so if they are contributing money to our overall system, that is a net neutral opportunity. Now, I would like to hear a little bit more about what sources he's used to come to this conclusion, and we can go from there.
No, Sheanie, that was your 2 minutes. Your opening dialogue.
Yeah, I don't listen. Like I said, he challenged me on this 30 minutes ago. I'm done. Go ahead.
Okay, 1 second. So now it's gonna be 20-minute dialogue. Give me 1 second.
Okay. Go ahead.
You wanted the sources. I did state those in my opening argument.
Before you do that, before I do the sources with you, I would like to ask you: do you believe that at the federal level, the immigrants pay more taxes for fewer benefits? Do you believe that?
As Medicaid, Medicare, and all of the services come from the federal government, so I would say no on that.
Sorry, I can't hear you. You were too low.
Yeah, so the federal money that they give into the system is not what they get out of the system, especially with food stamps, Medicare, and social living. That all comes from the federal level.
Okay, so would you disagree with the Cato Institute when they stated that they have reduced the federal that illegal immigrants reduce the federal deficit spending?
I would not agree. It's probably correct, but that does not underlie my statement. There are more cost on us than they are a positive on that. And the reason being is because they may spend money on the deficit or put money into the taxes, but how much are they getting out of it? So our deficit doesn't necessarily represent. Our deficit is what our community spends instead of like what it receives in and what it spends out.
So I would disagree with you. I would disagree with you. My understanding is, if you were to look at the deficit spending, that means that the amount of effort that they put in, the federal government is spending less money because they exist, right? And
Right,
so
but
the argument would be if they were gone, the federal government will have to spend more money. So I'm asking, when the Cato Institute broke that down and showed that illegal immigration does create a net growth for us, do you disagree with that net gain?
yes, because you are not including the local government also. As a matter of fact, the 2017 National Academies of Science report is clear that each illegal immigrant that is over here, it costs $1,600 more per year in services, mainly in
I'm sorry,
education.
with all due respect, I don't know if that's exactly what you said, right? In your opening statement, my understanding was that you said it would be $78,000, but maybe I misunderstood what that
Yeah,
said.
that's
Did you say
correct. That's,
1,700?
it's 1,600 per year per person. The 78 is over a lifetime.
Okay, so show me. So can you show me your sources that you've used so we can get a better
I
understanding?
just showed you. I just told you it was the 2017 National
Uh-huh.
Academies of Science report.
Uh-huh.
Also, George Borjas. He is a Harvard economist. He works for Harvard right now. He's actually got a PhD in economy. So he's the one that's been saying this for probably about 40 years, I would say. He's been studying it for the past 40 years. He first came out with a paper in 2003, which covered the years of 1980 to 2003, and then he came out with another one in 2017.
Okay, so my issue that I'm still having here is that I would like to. Okay, so here's the thing. I'm interested in understanding where we're seeing this growth, right? This cost. You're saying that it's at the state level because of the uses like Medicare and Medicaid and in our local systems. I'm interested in understanding what the number is that they put in versus what they take out. Now I know that you said that they cost $1,600 a year. I'm trying to understand what the what the benefit is.
I'm sorry. That is the total after all that's been done. That's what the report says. The report finds that mainly through education and welfare for their U.S. born children at that. So, and they pay taxes that immediate.
Wait, what? Can you? I'm sorry. Can you go back a little bit? What did you just say? You said for their children as well.
Right, mainly for their children, their U.S. born children.
U.S. born children are not are not a drain from illegal immigration. That's ridiculous. Those are U.S. citizens. Those can't be calculated in.
Yeah. They're not being counted in, but they're getting free services, and their parents are reaping the benefits of that.
No, that's not true. What you're saying, there's that. No, once the children
20
get the
hold on.
benefits, the children are getting the benefits because they are
Hold
U.S.
on,
citizens.
I'm not done
Rather,
yet.
they were okay. Go ahead.
I'm not done yet. So the 20, I'll just read this verbatim real quick to you, okay? And you can argue that, okay? So the 2017 National Academies of Sciences reported is equally clear. The first generation immigrants cost state and local governments a net $1,600 more per person per year in services, mainly education and welfare for their U.S. born children than they pay in taxes. The immediate fiscal burden lands hardest on states like Texas, California, and New York, okay?
Okay. I'm sorry. Can you run that last part by one more time?
Which part? The in taxes, the immediate fiscal burden lands hardest on the states.
Because I'm confused because you said because you made the statement about you made the statement about the cost that their U.S. born children bear and that they benefit from it, but that's not a cost that they've created, right? The reality is that once you become a U.S. citizen, it is what it is. Now, I'm interested in understanding your breakdown that you just gave. Unfortunately, my son did stop me real quick, so I had to pull off a little bit. Can you tell me a little bit more of that last bit of your statement?
Yeah, sure. They cost the state and local government $1,600 more per person per year in services than they put in. It's as simple as that. The way that they calculated this is through education, welfare, and like food stamps, Medicaid, housing assistance, all that, compared to only 37% of a house of native-born households actually.
Right, but you're still running into that issue that household that they're describing, right, that are led by illegal immigrants. Those are children. Those are U.S. citizens who are receiving those benefits, right? So again, you can't attribute those citizens, right? You can't contribute that value in those citizens. So my question for you then would be, how much is the cost outside of that? If you don't take the children into consideration,
But they are not taking the children into account, because the children don't pay taxes. Hold on. Yeah. Stop. Let me finish real quick. I'm letting you finish, so just let me finish. So the children don't pay into taxes, do they?
no, they don't, but that doesn't matter.
Okay. Great. So does the parents benefit from eating food that they purchased off of food stamps?
Yeah, I would argue yes.
Okay. So do they also benefit from having housing assistance?
Yeah, I would argue that they can benefit from that.
Great. Okay. So again, they're not putting into the system.
Wait, hold on a second. That's not true. Okay, so let's lock into that. Let's lock into what you just said. Okay, so if I'm working into a system where I'm paying taxes on food, I'm paying property taxes on things where I get the assistance for housing, right? I'm still paying rent in that particular position, and then I'm also paying taxes through an ITN number or multiple different things that I might be purchasing. You're telling me that I'm not still contributing to the community when I do that, right?
You are contributing.
Okay. And so the system that currently exists, while I might be benefiting a little bit from the fact that there is food in the house because of this, I've also contributed to that system. So you can't say that that's a net loss or a net gain. That would be neutral. If I'm paying into a tax system that's giving my children who are American citizens benefits, I am still creating a net neutral situation. Right.
I would highly disagree with that, because you don't know the actual money behind it. And what I'm going off of this study that they did, and they literally go through all of this step by step. I mean, you can go look at it.
I'm trying to find the study. I'm trying to find the study.
Pull it. I actually have it.
I'd be interested in seeing it.
If I can find it real quick.
Because we're still running into this issue, right? You made a lot of statements that were, hold on.
Well, I mean, actually, I've made statements because of this case study, the border crisis and the cost of chaos. This September 24th, 2024. This is where most of this information is being pulled from.
You said you pulled it up. You're talking about the opportunity and the Center of Opportunity and Social Mobility? Is that the one you're referring to?
Again, hold on one second. 2017 National Academies of Science report. It's about, it's literally, here, I have one that's even different. They look up consequences of illegal immigration for housing affordability, government budgets, and American workers.
Hey, you're giving me, okay. Just give me the source that you just said. I'm sorry. 2017. What did you say?
1 second.
I thought you were going to pull it up on your camera so we could look at it. But
sure. I mean, yeah, I can do that too. Hold on. There are multiple studies. This is one of them. Can I get the big box? And it's a PDF file, by the way. So, consequences of illegal immigration and housing affordability. I mean, and that's and Sheanie would, just to be clear, that's one aspect of it.
That's no, it's the fucking house. It's the house fucking report. Okay.
So also I'd like to point out that that's only one type, the social services. That's one type. You also have emergency services at the hospitals. You have education that goes to the goes to the schools, for their kids and stuff like that. You also there's several reasons why that this is not a net positive. Crime also is.
Wait, no. You said we were only talking about fiscal things.
Yeah.
Like I said, I did not want to have this conversation about the fiscal aspect, right?
This is
The fiscal aspect.
That's what net positivity is.
Okay. Again, like I said, I wanted to have a conversation about immigration, like illegal immigration, as a net positive for our society. We're doing the financial conversation, right? So we have to look through some of these things, which is different than what I originally took. Okay. So let's go ahead. We're going to go through it. So what are the sources that this study provides, right? So what are the sources that they came from? Do you know? Because like I said, we're still running into this issue where we're not getting a total understanding.
You can look at the
Let me rephrase that. I'll just ask you more questions about this because I think this is pretty difficult. So how do they calculate local and state tax receipts based off if they're undocumented or not? Go to bed.
So you have several different ways that they do that.
So how do you do it? How do they do it?
I'm trying to say, you gotta let me finish my the way that I'm talking right now. Okay, so let's see. We can go through crime real quick if you want to.
Well, we're not talking about crime. I've asked you a very direct question.
Well,
and I would
that's
like
part
a
of
very
it.
direct answer.
Well, that's part of it.
How do they dictate if taxes that is being paid is paid by somebody who is undocumented versus documented when it comes to things like sales tax or property tax?
Right. You take the amount of people that are illegal and you calculate that per person. So like what you can basically do is just take a percentage of whatever, like our.
No, I'm asking you, I'm sorry, with all due respect, I was talking about in the studies that you provided, how did they come to this conclusion of how they calculated what state taxes was made by somebody who was undocumented and documented?
Sure. So for let's say sales tax, our state has an 8.25% sales tax, right? Hello? Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's a sales tax on stuff that we purchase, right? We don't have to pay sales tax on food. So we don't have to, put that in there. So you can average out per person, like what people.
No, I'm asking you, I'm not asking you how to do it. I'm asking you how the study did it.
Yeah, this is how they did it. I'm trying to explain it.
Okay, I'm sorry, I must have missed something.
Yeah. So you could take that. That's how you get your sales tax. You can actually even do the tax on, like, let's say housing, for instance. But they're getting government assistance on housing. So are they really paying taxes if they have to go through that?
I'm sorry, Thumb, you have not answered my question. I said, how did the study show how they understand undocumented taxes to be collected?
You can get an average of per person just by where they're at, and
I'm asking in the study, how did they come to the conclusion?
And that's what I'm saying. That's my final answer.
Well, that's not really an answer. You can say I don't know how they came to that conclusion, and we can move on.
I'm not saying that because I've just given you a explained formula to do this. It's very simple.
I'm not asking you what your formula is. I'm asking what did they do
So we're not going to debate the
find
topic.
the number out, right? So, for example, if I say, hey, what we did is we took the known number of undocumented immigrants in the area of 15 million across the United States, and then we found the average sales tax and the average amount of property that was bought in the area, and we divided it by 10. Let's say that that's the answer. I want to know how they did it to come to the conclusion that they only brought in $3.5 billion.
Okay, so you came up with that right there, but you're not going to agree with somebody from Harvard coming up with that type of system.
No, I'm asking you. I'm only asking.
So that and then
What in the study that you had,
literally
what did they provide? That's all I'm asking.
literally what I just said.
No, you did not. So can you? Okay, actually, can you just show me where they
Sure.
came up with the number? Can you just show me the algorithm that they used, please? Thank you. This shit is brutal, man. I'm gonna get like negative points for this shit because with
Big box, if you could please again. Okay, so here's one chart that you can look at in that one, but this is not the chart that you're asking for. I understand that there's like
so then why would we use that if I'm asking
well, so I'm,
specifically
I'm
for
just gonna
the
go through it real
chart?
quick because it's the first one that I came up with. Okay, so just to let you kind of look and see what they did. This is a relationship between percentages of MSA population compromise. The percentage of immigrants are sharing the income of the United States born households spent in rent in 2022. Top 50 metro areas. So this is their calculus that they want you to go through right here, right? This is how they got through it. This is what you wanted. This is part of it, okay? This right here, this is the formula that they're using, and they're also using this chart over here, and then they go over here and they explain how all this is broken down. I'm sorry, I don't have a PhD to like go through this and tell you, but it's clearly there. Let's go back down. That's the rent. That's the rent that they pay. Okay. Now we can go back down and we can also look at this chart right here, and we can see lifetime fiscal impact of illegal immigration by educational attainment. So we can look at that also, and it comes up with the numbers that you're seeking. Okay, it's fully all in the where I got my sources from.
What people are providing these taxes? You haven't provided that to me. You've provided me a cost and a graph that shows the cost. I'm asking you what is how do they find the benefit? How do they calculate the benefit?
So the Census Bureau data is another one that they actually used in this instance. That's where they're getting another some of their other numbers from.
I'm sorry, Thumb Thug, and that doesn't really answer my question. Right? So when I say, hey, I know 10% of my population are undocumented immigrants, so I'm going to calculate 10% of my sales tax to go to those people. I would say if that is the system that they use, that would be a flawed system because just because you can say I paid, just because 10% of the people exist doesn't mean that 10% of people are paying the sales tax. You would agree on that, correct? You agree? You would agree on that, right, Thumb Thuggin?
No, not necessarily. I mean, I've gone through this several times with you. I don't. I mean, I'm not really sure how else to explain it.
Well, I'm
So,
sorry. It sounds like you're not really responding to my question. Unfortunately, like it seems like you're
well,
ducking
I
it.
mean, I
So again, you
responded.
would
It's just
agree.
not the way.
You would agree that if the system that was provided, right, they say, hey, we calculated that 10% of their population is undocumented immigrants, so therefore 10% of the sales tax was attributed by them. You would agree that that is a bad system to use, correct?
Not necessarily.
Okay, so why would that system be beneficial?
Time.
Why would that system?
Time. Okay. Yay. All right. So, who wants to go first for the closing statement?
First, to close my statement.
Give me
I'm
one
talking.
second. 1 second. I have to
So
start the timer. Go ahead, Sheanie.
So unfortunately, ℹ𝕆𝕋 has provided a claim to to an idea that he doesn't really know the answers to. He doesn't understand any of the data and the studies that has been provided to even be able to understand if that study is a good study or not. The problem here is that we have not been able to understand how we understand sales tax to be valuable, how many undocumented immigrants pay those sales taxes, and how many of those undocumented immigrants are receiving actual benefits versus the sales tax that they submit or federal taxes or these things. But what we do know is that without illegal immigrants, based on the studies that I provided with the Cato Institute, that they do offer at the federal level a surplus. It benefits people at the federal level because they are paying into a system that they are not getting things out of. ℹ𝕆𝕋 has not been able to present his argument in a way that we can, without critique, that we could properly critique because he didn't properly have the information. That's all.
Thank you, Sheanie. Give me 1 second. Go ahead, Tom.
Okay, let's be precise. Legal, skill-based immigration is usually a net positive for America, but illegal immigration is fundamentally different, and it's not a net positive. The people crossing illegally are, on average, less educated, less skilled. Harvard economist George Borjas has documented for decades that this low-skilled influx depresses wages for native-born workers without high school diplomas. That's roughly 10% of American workforce. Those are Americans at the bottom who can least afford the hit. The 2017 that I've been repeatedly mentioning, National Academy of Science report is equally clear. First-generation immigrants cost state and local governments a net of $1,600 per person, more every year, mainly through education and welfare in the United States. For their United States-born citizen, than they pay in taxes. The immediate fiscal burden lands on the state and states like Texas and California and New York. Welfare also, it's another big one. According to the Census Bureau data analyzed by the Center of Immigration Studies, 61% of illegal immigrants headed households use at least one major welfare program: food stamps, Medicaid, or housing assistance, compared to 37% of native-born households. And let's not forget, crime is not zero. ICE removes tens of thousands of criminals, aliens from the interior every single year. Those offenses would have never happened without the illegal entry. Bottom line, calling illegal immigrants a net positive only works if you blur the line between legal and illegal, ignore the immediate state and local budget hits, and pretend that low-skilled labor has no downward pressure on wages for working class Americans.
Time.
ℹ𝕆𝕋 made two different arguments during this entire time. Again, if we wanted to go and have the conversation about them being a net positive on society, that's what I wanted to do. You said that it was only a fiscal. You said it was only a fiscal argument, right? And then when we break down the fiscal argument, you can't explain how you've come to this conclusion.
He mentioned
if you wanted to have a conversation on it being a net negative, being a net positive, actually, you said a net negative, then I would like to have that debate. I want to have that debate. I'm much more well-versed on that.
I bet you are.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so I'm waiting on the results, and I will let you know in a few, okay?
But yeah, I literally gave you examples after examples. You just didn't grasp them. I'm sorry.
Yeah, ℹ𝕆𝕋 won. Thumb won.
Wait, who dropped Dana? Dana, nothing came across my screen. Come back up. There's no dropping.
Good job, Thumb.
Hey, Bill, did the judge already hear the arguments and everything?
It's over.
Well, no, I want to, because if I'm going to, I don't want to speak on the debate with the possibility of it affecting the